What are the top 5 fantasy audiobooks that you may never have heard of? Stay tuned to find out. Welcome back to another edition of Drotalks Audiobooks. Dro here, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 fantasy audiobooks that you may have never heard of. Before we get started, if you're an audiobook enthusiast like myself, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that bell to get notified. That way you can be in the loop for new great audiobook content coming to you on a weekly basis. Coming in at number 5 is Therithmatist by Brandon Sanderson and narrated by Michael Kramer. Therithmatist is one of those hidden gems that I found on one of the daily deals on Audible. I think I paid like $3 for this book and I absolutely loved it. Brandon Sanderson is famous and well-renowned, and rightfully so, for his world building and the way he introduces magic into the world. And this book, the magic in this book is so off the wall, so outside of the box, it is almost lame. It is lame when you first hear about it until you go through the audiobook and you experience how that magic interacts with this world that he created. It's almost in between a steampunk fantasy type book, and I absolutely love it and highly recommend it. The magic in this world actually involves using magical chalk, where you draw 2D pictures on the floor and you actually do duels, very similar to Harry Potter, but a little bit more bloodier with some severe consequences if you go that route. All the magic on this is based on balance. The more symmetrical your shape is, the more straight your lines are, the more powerful your spell will be. And these 2D creatures and these 2D defenses that you create can do some very serious damage. There's a world at war with chalk monsters, as crazy as that sounds, and you follow our protagonist who loves this world, who is absolutely a master of all the strategies and the signatures and the various patterns that are available, and he only lacks one thing: the magical power to actually make this happen. So you follow this individual on his journey as a basically non-magical user that has all the knowledge, and if he had this magical power, he would be a force to be reckoned with. So definitely I recommend Therithmatist as one of those hidden fantasy gems that you may have never heard of. Coming in at number 4 is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho and narrated by Jeremy Iron. The Alchemist is one of those staple books that I feel personally that everyone should listen to. This gives you an appreciation for life in itself, the beauty that's around you. It gives you an appreciation for how journeys begin and how they end. And let's just talk about that narrator. Jeremy Irons is fantastic in this audiobook. It's a short listen. I want to say it's between 4 and 5 hours long, but it is a story that will just delight the majority of you. If you don't like this audiobook, I do apologize, because it is a little bit anticlimactic, but the story and the value and the quality and just the pure beauty of this audiobook definitely means that you should check it out. Coming in at number 3 is Dawn of Wonder by Jonathan Renshaw and narrated by Tim Geralds Reynolds. The Dawn of Wonder is an absolute fantastic fantasy audiobook. I love the characters. I love the world that's created. I love the hero's arc that our protagonist takes in this story. It is absolutely one of those must listen to fantasy books. The only negative with this book, and this is a negative that any fan of the fantasy genre we gotta live with it, there's nothing about it, and that's it does keep you waiting for book 2, and I've been waiting for book 2 for quite a while. In this fantasy book, you follow our protagonist as he basically levels up, but no lit RPG here. This is 100% fantasy audiobook. But what I really like about this book is you actually get in the weeds on all the way from how to make arrows, on the best styles of sword fighting, what to do, what not to do, what looks really nice, but in a real battle would really just make you lose the edge. The realistic nature of this audiobook and thus the way magic is entered. Magic is not a big part of this audiobook, but it does play a notion to it, and that balance, I would compare this to Game of Thrones, the way they use magic in their book. But this is a very fantastic book, and I highly recommend it. You check out Dawn of Wonder. Coming in at number 2 is Homeland, the Dark Elf Trilogy by R.A. Salvatore and narrated by Victor Bevin. R.A. Salvatore is one of those very famous authors, especially if you do listen to the fantasy genre, you'll recognize his name. And the Dark Elf, who is our main protagonist of the Dark Elf Trilogy, is not a new character. A lot of you out there probably are very familiar with the tales of our favorite Dark Elf, but if you're like me, you did not realize there was a prequel to his story. And this prequel is in the form of a trilogy, and it really adds a new depth and layer to our favorite Dark Elf. And I definitely suggest you check out the Dark Elf Trilogy for yourself. Coming in at number 1 is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss and narrated by Nick Podell. The Name of the Wind is amazing. And like Dawn of Wonder and so many other great fantasy books, this story has not ended. There's 2 books, the second one being Wise Man's Fear, and there's actually a novella. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now. But all 3 of these books are absolutely fantastic and must listen. But The Name of the Wind is just one of those stories where it is beautiful. It's actually 2 stories in one, and you're invested in both of them. It's done superbly. The characters are amazing. The world is fantastic. The magic. This by far has one of the best displays and best thought out magic themes I have ever seen. I would go so far to say the magic in this story is superior to that of Harry Potter, and I know a lot of you out there might not like that, but at least in my opinion, it is true. The Name of the Wind is a story that I absolutely cannot wait to finish. I wish Mr. Patrick Rothfuss, if you're watching this, take your time, man, because it's a masterpiece, and we need it to stay a masterpiece. We don't need you to ruin the end just to please us fans. Just take your time, do what you gotta do, but please deliver it as soon as you possibly can, because this audiobook is my number 1 fantasy audiobook recommendation to anyone trying to get into this genre, because it is that good. And if you have not listened to The Name of the Wind, stop this video and go to wherever you need to go and get that audiobook and start listening. You can thank me later. This is Drotalks. Thank you again for watching my video. If you do like audiobook content like this, please make sure to give me a like and subscribe. It'll help the channel out, and we'll see you next time.